let's get right into it as the Sacramento Kings are on their way to their 4th win in a row. But Domantas Sabonis is out for a week. And so, Kevin, as my fellow Kings fan here on the panel, I'm going to toss it to you first. Just what are your thoughts on the Kings' latest 4-game winning streak, but also being without Domantas Sabonis for at least a week with a hamstring injury?
You know, when we signed Jonas Valanciunas, I was like, what the hell are we doing? We are assembling a senior home of Avengers and rolling it out. But, you know, it all worked out. Unfortunately, like you said, Sabonis did go down, and we had some pretty huge games by Jonas. So him coming in and finally helping us solidify that big man role, giving us a shot blocker. Toddy and Alex have known we've been talking for, I'm pretty sure about since the Kings made the playoff run that they needed a shot blocking big. If we're able to bring in a shot blocking big, it gives us the best chance to go on and win games. We saw that against the Warriors in the first go round. We just didn't have the size. We don't have the size that comes with a winning culture. So now that we have a guy like that, I'm not saying we're embedded into a winning culture now, but you can see Max Christie's putting down the right steps. Zach LaVine's finally starting to play basketball. It's been a rough going for him going start, but now he's starting to get rolling. We got Malik Monk doing his thing. So, you know, 4 games in a row. It's nice to see. Unfortunately, I don't really know how far we can take this. But if we can get a play-in spot, you know, who knows what the fuck can happen. Anything can happen in a single elimination game. So all steam ahead, and we'll kind of see what happens with this team that as it plays out. Shaun, I've been asked all throughout this streak, does Max Christie deserve a shot at the head coaching spot?
I think Doug Christie definitely does deserve to have a legitimate shot. And when Jaevon kind of asked us this question when Mike Brown was fired, Doug Christie was elevated to the interim head coach. As I said, playoffs, you give him a 2-year contract. Play in, we'll see how far they go. No playoffs, sorry, Doug. Go back to the end of the bench or leave. Like, love Doug Christie, Kings legend, from the court to the broadcasting table to the bench. But that's kind of my thoughts on it, is if they get that top 6 seed, give that man a 2 to 3 year contract. If they get into the play-in, okay, we'll see how far they can get in that play-in tournament. If they don't make the playoffs at all and they're not even a top 10 seed, sorry, Doug. Like, maybe you can be an assistant again for the Kings, but that never really seems to work out, where like you elevate a guy and then you're like, all right, I'm going to demote you now. They always end up leaving. And okay, I'll go be an assistant for them because I'm not going to be an assistant for you again. And so that's kind of my take on it. But Alex, what are your thoughts on the Kings' recent winning streak as they're on their way to, I mean, I can confidently say with them up 32 points with 10 minutes left in this game, they're going to be on a 4-game winning streak, but Sabonis has injured his hamstring. So what are your thoughts on that, Alex?
I think, well, right now they're in the 9th spot. They might bump up because they're only half a game behind from the 6th spot. So I think if they just ride this wave for like the next week and a half or so, they'll be fine. But they're coming up against some real competition soon. Like, they're playing the Nuggets, right? So I just don't believe in Valanciunas guarding Jokic. Like, I don't think that's going to be a good matchup. You have the Spurs, they have a shot. You have the Clippers, who are right now in the 6th spot. You have the Knicks, the Warriors, the Suns, the Grizzlies, and the Cavs. So if they can just ride this wave, I think they'll be fine.
I'm sorry, that was a mistake. I misclicked the button. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad, wrong button.
Hey, yeah, no, like that was legitimate. I'm sorry. I was trying to click something else, but Alex, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought, but just for the audio only listeners, I accidentally clicked on High School Hooper Toddy from his days at Rosemont when I was known as RHS Sports Blog and I was there on the sideline. But Alex, please continue your thoughts.
I'm here for it.
I'm just saying, I think if they ride this wave, I think they'll be fine without Sabonis. But they're going to have to come up really clutch in some of these games, especially when they play the Nuggets, Clippers. You know, the Warriors are still in that play-in spot. I don't know where they are, but I know they're in that play-in spot. And the Grizzlies and the Cavs are going to be pretty difficult for them too. So I think they'll be fine. I think they could get into the playoffs. They could avoid the play-in if they just do this right. Because I think the Mavs are in the play-in right now. The Mavs are done, right? So then you have the Clippers. I think the Warriors are in there somewhere. And then there's like another team kind of like in that play-in spot. So out of all those teams, I think the Kings can get to that 6th spot, but these next few games are going to be very critical for them.
Most definitely. And Toddy, before I get your thoughts on this, I wanted to follow up on something that Kevin was saying in regard to Jonas Valanciunas, because I absolutely loved the pickup of Jonas Valanciunas for the Sacramento Kings. I used to hate him. I hated him so passionately. And it was because of Chimezie Metu, who I haven't thought about in years until the Kings acquired Jonas Valanciunas. And the quick backstory with that is that Chimezie Metu, like 4 or 5 years ago, went up for a dunk, and Valanciunas just slammed him to the ground. Metu broke his wrist. And so Kings fans collectively hated Jonas Valanciunas for that. But now he's a Sacramento King, and I'm quite happy about it. And the reason why I was so happy about the acquisition of Valanciunas before the Sabonis injury is because for years I have been wanting a huge center to play next to Domantas Sabonis, because Sabonis can handle himself against most centers in the league, but it's when he goes up against those shot blockers that he's undersized and he gets bullied a little bit. And so we've only seen Doug tinker with it a little bit, like in a couple of those games against New Orleans. But when you move Sabonis to the 4, you have Valanciunas at the 5, it's a slower lineup, but you can really bully teams and play old school basketball. And I feel like Sabonis could really thrive with that. Sorry, what did you say, Toddy?
Said Twin Towers?
We'll come up with a different name. We'll come up with a different name.
Not Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cleveland does have like the NBA. Yeah, if you call it the Twin Towers, call it whatever you want. Cleveland does have like the ideal pairing for that.
We're like a motel and a 4-star hotel.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you got to give Sabonis a little more credit than that.
4-star hotel. I'm talking about Jonas is the motel.
Okay. All right. Fair. But yeah, I love the acquisition of Valanciunas because of that. When the Kings traded for Zach LaVine, and in the trade, they obviously traded away De'Aaron Fox, I was optimistic about it just because I was like, you know what? Kings got an all-star back when they dealt away an all-star. Yeah, I may not love Zach LaVine's defensive abilities, but he's a scorer, straight up. And Jake LaRavia, underrated acquisition. And so the Kings, as we're seeing during this 4-game winning streak, they're starting to piece it together a little bit. But Jaevon, as the other Celtics and unbiased fan on this panel, just what do you think overall about the Sabonis hamstring injury, but also the Kings winning 4 in a row?
I mean, it's looking like 5 right now.
No, it's 3 going to 4.
Oh, so you're mailing this one in. This is 4.
Yeah, 30 points.
He's mailing it in. I think they're going to miss Sabonis definitely on the glass. I mean, he averaged 14 rebounds a game. I mean, a couple weeks ago, he had 28 rebounds in a game. Like, what are we doing here? Scoring, I think LaVine, guys like Monk, DeMar, who I think is probably the best scorer on the team, can fill in the scoring void, but I just think they're going to miss him on the glass. They've been able to, I think this is one game, but I think they'll kind of be able to. I think he missed yesterday's game, if I'm not mistaken, the Rockets game. Yeah. So
he got. I didn't. To be honest, yeah, I was gonna say. To be honest, I didn't see the Rockets game, but I got the notification that he got hurt, like in the first quarter of the Rockets game.
Yeah. So I think there will be some adjustments. I mean, the team is already adjusting itself with just ingratiating LaVine in the lineup, him trying to get his feet wet, adjusting to how everybody else plays around him. Malik Monk being in and out of the starting lineup. What's DeMar's role? I mean, everything's kind of still all out of whack. They're trying to figure out how to play with each other. But I think this is just a little bit of a setback. But if the Kings can continue to keep winning, Alex already mentioned, they're like a game and a half out of the 6th spot. Can the Kings get a playoffs? Monty McNair is going to look like a freaking evil genius if the Kings make a playoff spot, not play in. Like if they are able to secure a 6th seed after all of the bullshit with the De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown dilemma, he'll look like a genius. Vivek will be goddamn executive of the year if the Kings make a playoff spot after everything that's happened. But I think Doug Christie too. He'll look like one of the best coaches in the NBA. He'll get a contract. Shaun already mentioned if they're able to kind of weather the storm here a little bit, which doesn't seem like it's that far off because they're right in the mix of everything. They're only like game and a half from the 6 spot, 5 spot, a couple of games back. If they can just continue to keep winning games, they could be in the playoffs. And I don't know if that's good for them necessarily. Kev might have something to say about that, but I think given their circumstances on where they would be picking and where they would have hoped to have been picking after the De'Aaron Fox trade and them not really getting the protected first round or not getting an unprotected first round pick, that's kind of, it's like if you suck, your pick's going to be good, but you're not getting your own pick. But if you win, then it might not be as bad because you're not going to pick anyway. So Kings got to try and win.
Yep, that's a great point, Jaevon.